of this format and see how we can expand what Creative Mornings can be. And this initiative to bring forward these participatory style events is made possible by our global partner, Adobe. So you'll hear about our local partners who help provide the pastries and the coffee and the materials, but the global partnerships like Adobe power Creative Mornings as a global organization and ensure that we can keep growing around the world. So a couple notes from Adobe. Creative Mornings has teamed up with Adobe to bring a series of online workshops and resources to help you find the right opportunities. There's recordings of past workshops and new upcoming ones. We'll send out a link later to attendees, but just one of the examples, Adobe and Creative Mornings are partnering to help the creative community. And likewise, Adobe is introducing the Creative Apprenticeship, which is a program to offer mentorship and projects and job opportunities to creatives. So there's career guides, portfolio reviews, and apprenticeship opportunities on Behance in their career center. So you can Google this, or again, we'll send up the link later, but thank you, Adobe. Also, thank you very much to our local partners that make this specific event possible. So UVA Art, New City Art, and the Fralin Museum of Art at the University of Virginia. So some notes from them. Maureen, do you want to speak about this, or do you want me to?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I work at New City Arts, and tomorrow there's a free community still life from 1 to 4 with the artist who has an exhibition up this month. And you're encouraged to bring an object from your own home to add to the still life that you would then draw, paint. We are also looking for our next resident artist, and that application is due later this month. You get free studio space, $1,000 stipend for 6 months, fall, winter, and then next year as well. So check it out. Love for you to apply if you're looking for studio space.
And yeah, grab the QR codes if you can. Again, we can share the links, or if you look at New City Arts on social media, I think all of these are posted there. And then there's some events at the Fralin. Lisa, do you want to speak close?
Yeah, we'll speak widely. Numbers per hand, but curious the talking and the readings of exhibitions to put it. The speak and school, the bigger show, and the number of exhibition. So everything will need closed hands. So after the event, when you hit the we sat down and sale August 30th. So either come back if you have it, or at least we're going to sit.
So thank you so much. Have anything for UVA Arts? I know it's the summer. UVA is global hibernation. Seems like a good time to go to the Fralin. Maybe a little easier to get to than our hall. Thank you to Willow Tree for hosting us today. This photo might look familiar. It's where you're seated right now. I originally wasn't going to go a ton into Willow Tree, but a lot of people were asking during the mingling, so I threw in a couple slides real fast. But Willow Tree is a digital product agency which started here in Charlottesville, Virginia, but has grown a lot past that, which I think isn't always visible to everyone in the community. So now we are at over 4,000 folks globally. And we say we'll work on anything with a screen, maybe even things that don't have screens. We started with iOS apps, moved to websites, and now things like water dispensers and kiosks, and relevant today, more and more into AI tooling as well. So really just anywhere that a company is trying to reach their customers in digital, Willow Tree has designers, engineers, strategists, data scientists to help them out. This is, in case it's of interest to anybody, a lot of different things we offer. Happy to chat more after that, but largely for today, appreciative for the space and for some of the expertise that you'll hear in a little bit. Almost done with things. As always, thank you to Ian for providing videography. If you enjoyed today's event and wish you had been coming for years, good news, there's years worth of recordings on our website. So you can go back and watch. And thank you to Corbin for the photography. If you I don't know, just want to look at old events and reminisce. We have photos online too. And as always, thank you to the organizing team for helping set all of this up. Also say, one of the main ways people find out about Creative Mornings is from their friends. So if you have a good time, let your friends know, invite them next month. We do this more or less every third Friday of the month. So yeah, bring folks along, share the word. And one last thing we like to do is have someone read the Creative Mornings manifesto to get us started. Is there anyone that would like to read the manifesto today? Have it nice and David. Yes.
Thankfully, this is my cookie. Creative Mornings, the best of everyone's creative. Creative life requires bravery, action, honesty, and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate you, and encourage you to make the things flow. We believe in the power of creativity. We believe in giving the damn. We believe in face-to-face connection and learning from others in hugs and high fives. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone, vote.
Right, you know.
Should I go? Right.
Okay, so just to kick off today, like I said, this is an event called Thriving Through Change. The subtitle for our chapter was AI Anxieties. AI shaping the world in profound ways, but especially for the creative community, I think there is a lot of uncertainty about how we're thinking about it, how we're using it. And so what we're doing here is part of a larger collective conversation about the possibilities, the challenges, and the roles we want AI to play in our life. And so we're going to start by having Carolina, who's a product designer here at Willow Tree, speaking about specifically in her practice, I think at Willow Tree, where we've been in terms of using AI and where we're hoping to go. And then again, because there's a goal for this to be a more participatory event, we're going to spend then the rest of the time sharing and writing down kind of our thoughts in a zine format. So I have zine templates. We'll talk a little bit more about zines. So we'll get there in the second half. But for now, I want to introduce Carolina.
As Jeremy said, we're here to talk about AI anxieties. But I have enough up here that I'd really like to refocus about human empathy, less about anxiety. My name is Carolina Whitmore. I'm a staff product designer at Willow Tree. I'm originally from Estonia, and now I live out in Scottsville. My design career began creating design specification drawings for wayfinding. Schools, hospitals is where I met my husband. And I really wasn't that great at it, so I migrated over to designing packaging for a consumer packaged good brand. And then I found myself pushing pixels and designing websites in Photoshop. So fast forward to 6 years ago, Figma, the new tool on the market, was just starting to get some traction. I just got a job at Willow Tree, and I didn't know how to use Figma. And I also couldn't read code, but that's how it began. Like, it was just a new tool on the scene. So what did that look like at Willow Tree? We, as you heard, build products together. That could be, like you said, a touch screen on a water dispensing machine. But for me, it looked like designing an app for MasterCard, designing a premium RV and camping app for Sun Outdoors, ideating for apps for for United Airlines, designing the IPO CEO experience for NASDAQ. Most recently, designing the first business-to-consumer app for Equifax. And now, here we are today. I work directly in the code base. I use AI to prototype, design, and build every day. I explore ideas in real time, not after handing off to engineering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through, back up again, to where we were, how we used to build products, where we are now, how we are integrating with AI, and then an optimistic view into what we think we're going to in the future. So part one. Until recently, we built products in silos, honestly. We had strategy, we had design, we had engineering. Each had its own language. It kind of worked, but it was kind of like a game of telephone. I would compare it to a three-legged stool. Engineers spoke in code, designers spoke in visual designs, and strategists spoke in stories. What did that look like? Engineering speaking code would understand the architecture, the performance, the logic. Design would speak in thousands of frames of designs. They're fluent in heuristics and visual design, interactions, accessibility. Strategy spoke in story. They had like crazy boards with tons of Post-it notes. They understood the business needs, the user pain points, the market context. But if all those legs didn't speak together very well, the product wobbled. There was a handoff between each step. Engineering usually never spoke to strategy. So what changed now? Now, AI didn't replace any of us. We all still have our three-legged stool, but it worked as a bridge to help us understand each other, to speak the same language, the same natural language to the code base. So it wasn't about using AI to check a box. It was about closing that gap between intent, design, and implementation engineering. So now I can speak to our code base in natural language in real time, right next to our engineer next to me. And I think it's fundamentally changed how we design. It's made me more empathetic to engineering, because I don't think about just how something looks, but I'm thinking about how it's built, because it's in my hand. It's a real product. I'm reacting to responsiveness, to accessibility, to dark modes, to light modes, without having to multiply my artboards 50 times to get there. I'm thinking about how it scales. I'm thinking about all my design choices a little more critically. I'm thinking about how we are affecting our architecture, our performance, our accessibility from the beginning, not when I'm handing off to engineers. But it's not just me. It's not just design. Strategy is now present in the building phase. Previously, they were handing over high-level strategic insights, competitive insights, and now they get to shape what's really being made. Design is no longer spending weeks creating handoff documentation, like literally thousands of screens. We are now in the front-end code with our engineers creating a product. And engineering now has a front seat. They get to shape from the beginning the product strategy, guiding the design, ensuring scalability, and architecture. But what's nice is that we're not working in silos anymore. We're actually working closer together, oddly enough, despite having AI in the room with us. We're sitting side by side because we have a bridge to speak the same language. And I think that because of that, not only are we making products generally faster, but they are smarter and they're more empathetic to what we need as users. I know I went through that really quick, but I think that we are actually designing with a little more empathy as humans, despite having this looming anxiety about using AI. And I think that's going to better shape how we build products in the future.
Watch. You mean sit down to answer
Yeah, I can answer
questions?
questions.
Yeah. So
I can go backward.
I have a question. So why was AI the catalyst to be more embedded in TWs? Why couldn't that happen to me?
Honestly, I think we spoke different languages. Like, strategists and designers were never a part of the engineering process because we cannot read code. We cannot engineer products. But now, using natural language, we can begin to shape a product on the front end. And I can demo kind of like what that looks like.
So AI works as a translator for different worldviews, essentially. But there are different teams have different goals. AI translates those goals to another language. Yeah.
Yeah, so in plain English, I can speak to a code base and be like, I would like to visualize a button here and a table here. And then I have an engineer review the code to make sure it's like structurally sound. But we kind of skip that whole step of creating things that aren't real. Like, I've thrown away thousands of designs because they just live in Figma and they're not real. Like, no one can use them in Figma. I'm going straight to the real product now and shaping the real experience on the front end.
Is there also something about the speed now? Because I feel like before, like, teams would talk to each other, but they would have to set aside specific meetings. People didn't really have time because, like, you had an entire app for MasterCard to design while they had an entire app to build. So, like, no matter how well you plan it, you're, like, running up against deadlines every time. And so to take a step back and, like, let's all just chat it out and, like, translate to each other.
Yeah. It's like building in real time instead of like design spending 3 months designing like the login, the dashboard, just to get engineering going. Now we can sit together and build those things and design them together. Well, yes. Okay, this doesn't look very sexy, but what you are looking at is the code base here of a product that we're building. Is my terminal running the server. And then over here, you can see that I'm just like you or me, like just talking to the code. Let me find something that I'd asked it to do. So I was having an issue. I was asking what's going on with this error code right here. I was looking at renaming some things on the page and just being able to do that using natural language. Here, like, let's add the filter component to the same bulk actions component that we have on the H2A petitions table view, and then it would execute that. And none of this code is going into our code base without an engineer reviewing it, a human engineer reviewing it. But it is allowing us to go into the front end and create designs in the front end for the first time.
Did you say you were talking code?
That's essentially what it is. So I'm talking...
AI interpreter?
AI is the agent in the experience. So I'm speaking to the AI agent and giving it the context of the code base, and it's going to look in the code base and make those changes and like updating me on where it's doing it so that I can essentially follow along and learn with it. And I can give it like screenshots of like, this doesn't look right. Let's look at this particular section.
Which AI are you using?
Right now, I have it auto-selecting the model, but the program is called Cursor.
And I know you also, I've like, at the start, put together rules in place for it, like, essentially, like, codified your design system and the color, right? To some degree.
More so like rules about how it should behave. So the product structure, like how to, like all these little tabs over here are rules that you tell it so that it has to abide by it. So like a feature workflow, a project structure, the Tailwind CSS, and these just ensure that as it's agenting around and doing its tasks, it follows guidelines and doesn't go YOLO.
It seems like from a design and strategy perspective, empathy would be in the keyword. But I wonder about an engineering perspective. It seems like their roles much just in what you're describing, and you kind of monitoring rather than creating.
I feel like engineering wasn't really involved in the beginning of projects before, and now they're getting to get all those insights like as soon as they happen. Like they're sitting in the user interviews with us, like that never happened before, and they're hearing like why we actually need this dashboard to look like this and this to be positioned here, and that takes out so much more friction down the road, because the scenario that we had before was I'd get a dashboard approved, all the layout done, hand it over to engineering, and then engineering would be like, we can't do that. That's like really hard, doesn't make any sense. And I'd be like, well, we have to figure out how to do it. And then there's that tension and friction. You got to go back to the client and be like, it's not going to work. So now we get to solve those problems before they happen.
I also think like the stuff that you're mocking out is like add this new drop down, change the menus, which like my partner as a software engineer says like our job is putting labels on screens like 90% of the time. And so to some degree, like you are now helping with that part.
Yeah.
And so they can spend more of their time on like, what is the underlying business logic? What is like kind of the more complicated mess that's happening in the background and all the plumbing, which is a more, I think in most cases, a more interesting problem to solve, as opposed to can you make sure that it has a light mode and a dark mode?
Right. It's like I really care about the 24 like pixel corner radius, but our engineer may not be as like upset if like they see it like that. They really want like their user roles to be fine and the architecture to be scalable. So they would love more time to focus on that while I fix all my like UI bugs that I see.
Yeah, so when you're talking to you talk back to it, tell it to do something AI and like rewrite code based on what you think, whatever you
Yeah. Paul.
to the extent that all of this are in the same environment.
Yeah.
What degree you incurred the collaborative engineers will think about it, or that maybe change it inferred and how much problem?
Oh, it happens all the time. But it's less of a problem to fix. Like, it's so much faster to fix it. Like, every time we move environments, like we go from development to staging to production, like something squirrely happens. And like, I don't know why, but like all of a sudden the UI has moved. But to fix it, it's not a week. It's like 30 minutes to an hour. So it's faster, so you're not as upset about it, I would say. But we also do PR reviews. So you've got a main branch that you've got your code on, and then if I wanted to make a change, I would pull a branch, make my little change, and then push my branch back to main and have a PR review, and the engineer would read the code, make sure it looks normal, there's nothing weird, and then approve it, and then we'd merge it into the main branch. So there is that like peer review cycle that's really helpful. So anytime I push code, the engineer will review it. When the strategist pushes, both design and engineering will look at that too.
You ever foresee a situation where AI would be engineers' jobs?
I don't think so. It's not really as smart as you would think it would be. It does make a lot of mistakes, and it is really helpful to have a human engineer checking the code. Like, there's a natural trust that we have with humans that we don't have with AI. I don't think we'd ever want to replace that.
You mentioned that you have to allow us to in this discussion saying I'm going to do this gradient thing. In the absence of AI, see it be helpful for you the conversation anyway. It sounds like AI allows that to be an issue and time for a question. Whereby
I think it's our team structure and our approach to projects has changed. Like, before we would do a discovery engagement that would be just design and strategy, and it'd be like 8 weeks, and we'd gather all the insights, do all the user interviews, competitive insights, and then we'd have to create designs before engineering could start on anything. And so we wouldn't get them involved until we had designs to start on. So this is just us changing our processes to have smaller, leaner teams working together faster from the start. Instead of, creating flat designs that don't work, we're creating real prototypes that are alive.
person, in my opinion, is relatively complex. It's just getting started using AI, like actual, clearly just recommendations for in the space.
Yeah, I know this is not really fun to look at all day. I do have like a website that's running behind this that does look normal, but I would say there are other products on the market like Lovable, Replit. Those all have like nicer, friendlier user interfaces. The reason that we went with Cursor is because most of our engineering teams use Cursor, and it is kind of an uphill slog to get through, but having an engineer on your team really helps like get through all those gnarly issues that you can run into.
You mentioned strategy, design, engineering. How do you typically manage what capabilities work, like our work in a person who's needing to be able to do this, to be able to look at their bank account, to be able to about whatever. Like, who manages that use case stuff? Is that shared? Is that strategy?
Yeah, I would say that's shared, and also we involve the client really heavily because we work so quickly. We need to get like a lot of insights really quickly and get alignment from them before we go forward making anything. So together we're prioritizing the features, sizing all the features way more accurately, honestly, because sometimes we would have strategy just sizing features, which seems wild. But yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, stop airing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you again, Carolina. Okay, so moving into one more phase of today's event. What? So for the second half, maybe second third of this event, I don't know why I'm trying to do things backwards. We are going to move briefly to a more analog medium and use it to think through kind of what we're feeling about what we just heard from Carolina. I think what previous thoughts, beliefs, experiences you might have with AI, and we're going to do that through working on zines. So how many folks have made a zine, read a zine before? Sweet. How many people don't know what I'm talking about if I say zine? Cool. I'm going to put Jess on the spot maybe. Jess, how would you define a zine?
Yeah, okay. Jeremy's putting me on the spot because I'm a member of Charlottesville Zine Fest. A zine really can be anything, but sort of the purpose of it is self-publication. Zines give anybody the authority to say anything without anyone being able to tell them not to. There are many different kinds of ways to make a zine. Zines have been around since the printing press has been around. I would argue that Thomas Paine's Comic Sans was like the original zine. But essentially just like a pamphlet, a paper that you copy and staple together and distribute at your will. I have been making zines locally and teaching workshops and stuff for like 3 years now. My personal preference is the kind of zines to make is the one that Jeremy made a template for, which is a one-page mini zine. I didn't bring any of mine with me today, but into a quantum piece of paper, and essentially folded into these little 8 squares, and then become a big little book that you can keep in your pocket or like share around with people. But zines are a great way to share ideas, to explore your own emotions, to express yourself. You can write in it, you can draw in it, you can put stickers in it. Really, it's just an exercise in free will and in arguing humanity and everything that's about it.
And like Jess said, they've been around forever, and part of it is because they're so easy to make and translate and copy and spread. But I feel like there's been a recent resurgence. I know Charlottesville now has a zine fest. Stanton has a zine fest. Pretty much every major city does. I went to a major exhibition at the Brooklyn Art Museum of zines, which was awesome. And I think that's touring. So if you ever get a chance to see it, I highly recommend it. And coincidentally, unrelated to this event, Charlottesville Zine Fest published their zine manifesto the other day on Instagram, which you can see here. But yeah, I thought it would be a interesting format for us to think through our thoughts on AI. So like Emma was showing, I made a template that we have copies of that we'll pass out. It is more legible when it's folded, but essentially the idea is the prompts in the template are 3 things that intrigue you about AI,